Hey, everybody, welcome. Great to have you today. I'm here to guide you through what I think is going to be an interesting presentation of a lot of the things that I've learned over the last decade working with small business owners and how to make them successful online. My name is Christine. I'm co-founder and CEO of UNI, and I'm joined here by two of my colleagues. They're really marketing experts and here to back you up on any questions you have and hopefully also provide some insight. Pedro.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Happy to be here with you. So my name is Pedro, as Christine said. I'm the head of marketing here at UNI, and I'll be manning the chat, listening to your questions, hopefully helping you out as well. So feel free to leave any comments. I'll try to respond them during the webinar.
Florian.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Florian, the email marketing specialist here at UNI. I'll be glad to answer all your questions. So let's get started.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, guys. So as we all know, if you're not succeeding online, it's as though you're invisible. And what we've all learned at UNI over the years is that there are some kind of recurring lessons that hopefully in the course of the next 55 minutes or so, we can start to impart some of them and to your benefit. Okay. So the first question we often kind of get from customers one way or another is, what is necessary for a business to be successful online? And there are a few things if you drill down. The first is to launch a great website. What's a great website? It has to professionally represent your brand pretty much on any device, so laptop or mobile phone. It has to convey information about your business. It needs to be able to collect leads, make bookings, and take payment. Those are the basics of what a website needs to do. But it's not just about building a website, it's maintaining that website. How do you keep it fresh and up to date? We're talking here about content and design, but also things like tech and security. The website is a foundation, but it's not the whole story. You also have to maintain a strong presence on other platforms. Here we're talking about social media, but also things like reviews and listings platforms, high trust platforms where you can showcase your business. And then at the end of the day, this online presence is supposed to be kind of a pipeline for your business, right? So how do you nurture the leads that you get, the people that are writing to you, messaging you, and ultimately become customers? How do you nurture them so they are repeat customers and really drive your business over time? So these are the pieces really that hopefully we'll touch on today, and all of them need to hang together. One thing I want to make very clear, if there's one thing that you take from this presentation, it's that you cannot just launch a website and expect that everything will transform in your business. Online success does take, many steps, putting together different pieces and maintaining it over time. But we'll kind of unpack some of that to show you how you can begin to do that and make it less of a daunting task. So there are three things that it's always important for us to kind of cover with any small business that we work with at the outset. And I think, I would urge all of you to think about these elements when you're getting started on building your website and setting up your online presence. The first is define for yourself what are some realistic goals about what you think you can achieve and will achieve with your online presence. So what does that mean? It's so vague, right? For me, concretely, a realistic goal is that you achieve a positive return on investment on the money and time that you spend to set up your online presence. It's a very simple rule. And here you want to look at a 3 to 6 month time horizon to say, okay, look, before I did this work on my online presence, this is where my business was. How many leads, calls, this is sales, what I was doing, bookings, in a given month. Now, when I fast forward to 6 months later, when I've been doing all this work on setting up my website, my social, my reviews, what does my business look like? What is that portfolio? What kind of lead profile am I getting? Do I see more traffic in the door? And that's a good way of assessing kind of, am I getting a positive return on investment? Because it may not be clear immediately, like how much business am I getting from my website or my social media? The second thing is to define a realistic budget, time and money that you're willing to spend. And really, I always say you should define for yourself what is realistic over the next 12 months. How much of your own time are you ready to commit? And then in dollars, what are you going to spend? There are a lot of benchmarks out there. For a running business, typically 7-8% of your gross revenues is very common to be spending on marketing. If you're a new business, although maybe it seems counterintuitive because you have kind of less to spend, you would need to spend more, 10, 12%. That may not be possible for everybody, and that's fine, but you do need to define for yourself what is realistic in terms of your budget. One point about time, if you're like most small business owners and you don't have a lot of time to give, I would really urge you to think twice about using a do-it-yourself website solution. Because, and we'll talk about this kind of at length, the do-it-yourself builders are very time intensive, right? There's a lot of marketing about them. They talk about how easy it is and all of this, but it ultimately does take a lot of your own input in order to make it happen. We'll talk about that more in a couple minutes. And the last thing is that when you are setting out to set up your online presence, think about the entire picture, not just one piece. So what I talk about is an end-to-end solution. You're going to want to cover the things that we talked about just a minute ago: the website, launching it, maintaining it, getting yourself on the other platforms, social media, reviews, and making sure you can capture and nurture leads. So kind of the marketing piece of that. So you want a solution that maybe it's not just one provider, that's fine, but make sure that when you're considering building out your online presence, that you're thinking about all those pieces when you are thinking about who's going to help you and who's going to do what. Now, let's get into it. What are we talking about here today? I firmly believe that, having worked with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands now of small businesses, that every business can be successful online, but you should know a few things. And I think those businesses that know these things earlier save themselves a lot of time and trouble. We'll first talk about some myths that prevent business owners from launching successful websites. We'll also talk about some mistakes to avoid when you're building your website. And then last, some of the pieces that build on the website but lean on other platforms. Okay. So first, website myths. Here I'll talk about myths with respect to do-it-yourself website building because, as I said, DIY builders, they are amazing companies. They're huge technology companies, and they've built great platforms, and they do a lot of marketing. So everybody knows about Wix and Squarespace and GoDaddy, and they can be great solutions. But I do think that a lot of the marketing around them does propagate some myths that business owners need to be aware of. The first one is that it's easy to build a website on a DIY builder. Now, think about what goes into building a website. Just a couple of the things that go into it. You have to think about design, content, so the copywriting. That copywriting needs to be SEO friendly. You also need to think about the SEO on the site structure. What functionality goes onto your site? What's the information architecture on that site? So where do things go? How do you navigate the site? Certainly kind of the branding and the aesthetics. What functionality? E-commerce, bookings, what kind of lead forms am I going to capture? How do all these things hang together? Do I need some additional plugins on my site? There are a lot of considerations that make website building actually complicated. And that's why it's a profession. That's why there are so many web developers, freelancers, companies like ours out there, because it is something that actually takes a lot of craft to do well. So it's not easy, and it should not be, no one should think that it is, or if you can't build your own website, that somehow you're missing the point. This is something that takes a lot of skill to do over time. The second myth is that it's fast, and this ties with the previous point. With all those things that you need to think about, and I didn't even mention like the technical aspects of it, which we'll talk about a little bit later, loading speed and all these things, and security, none of those things, if you're going to do them all and do them well, is going to be done quickly. If you're not trained in building websites properly. And even if you are a professional, very often if you go to an agency or a web developer and you ask them to build for you, the lead time is usually 3-4 weeks. So even if a professional is going to take that amount of time to build your site, you should certainly expect that for someone who is new to it, who's building it for the first time and needs to learn a lot of the things along the way, it is going to take quite a bit of time. And then the last thing is that it's cheap, right? A lot of these platforms may start free, either a free trial or there's some version of the site that's free. Nothing is free. If you want to unlock functionality that you absolutely need on your site, a domain, bookings, e-commerce, you will need to pay for it. That's for certain. But I would also urge you to think about cost, not just in terms of the money that you pay a provider, a platform for a subscription, but how much of your own time and the opportunity cost of your time that goes into it. And there it's like, if you spend, and we'll go through some of these numbers a little bit later, if you spend 20, 30 hours trying to build a site, what could you have been doing with that time for your business elsewhere? And would you have a higher return? Would you make more money doing something else? Is this a good use of your time? So in the end, a real reason why so many small businesses don't launch a website is because they start on a do-it-yourself platform. They make these assumptions early on that it's easy, it's fast, and it's going to be cheap. They don't launch a site that they love, and so it's a very frustrating prospect, and they will have made an investment of time and money to do it. I'll just give you one statistic. Most website builders convert 1% to 2% of their free customers, so the folks that start on a free version of the site, into a paid site, meaning they've unlocked that core functionality of e-commerce, bookings, or a domain. If only 2% are doing that, that means 98% are remaining on free. That means those 98% aren't realizing the potential of the website, and those are not really successful outcomes. So, if anybody on the, online today has used a DIY builder and has been frustrated about it, you should know that you're in the camp of the vast majority of people, and through no fault of your own, because these are sets of toolkits that are geared to people that build expertise and study the platforms and develop skills in it over time. Now, having set aside those myths and understanding kind of that quite a lot goes into building a website, let's get into it. So assume you're building your website. What are some important things to keep in mind as you're doing that? I want to talk about this rather than what you should do. Rather, let's talk a little bit first about what you shouldn't do. So, and we do see quite a few of these common mistakes, because about 40% of our customers come to us with a pre-existing website, and they do so because they're frustrated somehow. Maybe the website isn't up to date, it's not as modern, it's not responsive, so it doesn't work well on mobile. And so these are very common things that probably you've seen on the web and maybe you've experienced yourself. So the first thing is, these websites often neglect calls to action. Probably know what a call to action is. This is basically a button that directs the your end customer, so the visitor to your website, to do a specific action. When you think about what's important on a website, the first most important thing is, when somebody lands on that website, they need to understand instantly, pretty much, what does your website do, right? For sure. Okay, I've looked at the website for a second and I understand that this is a tax accountant. Wonderful. Now, the second most important thing is, what do you want that customer to do now that they're on your site? And very often, there are a lot of websites that have kind of buttons all over and a lot of different directions to the customer. It's important to kind of be single-minded. What is the one thing you want that customer to do? Is it book now? Is it call now, buy now, learn more? Whatever it is, just be very deliberate about it. These buttons should be concise, the language very direct, use verbs, and the button should stand out. So maybe you've heard about color theory. There's a color wheel, and the best practice on websites is to use contrasting colors. So blue and orange are contrasting, purple and yellow, red and green. You can try different things, but the point is you want to establish contrast, visual contrast on the page so that the button really stands out, and be uniform so that throughout the site, your call to action is clear, it's recognizable, and it repeats the message of what you want the customer to do. You know, they should be easy to find, and as I said, you can experiment with different colors and things, but as long as it's clear. The one thing, you may say, well, look, there's kind of a second message that I want to direct the customer to do. You can, and there are secondary calls to action. It's very common. Maybe you'll put like a hyperlink under the button with a slightly different command, maybe a learn more or something. So get started is the primary CTA and learn more just underneath it. That's totally fine, as long as visually there's some contrast and you're not confusing your visitor. The second mistake is around slow loading websites. Nothing puts off a visitor and nothing will make them bounce faster than a website that fails to load quickly. So, there are various statistics out there, but generally, if on mobile you have loading 3 seconds or more, you'll lose half of the visitors kind of straight away. And so that time to first interaction with an element on the page, if it's under 2 seconds, that's really kind of ideal. This is something that your hosting provider or whoever you're working with to build your website, they need to be professional in delivering this to you. And again, it's one of the complexities around building your own site to make sure that you're doing this, because very often in the pursuit of a design that we really like and putting things on the page that are interesting, or even functionality that's interesting like tracking and things like that, it can weigh down the site. So large images, for example, slow down loading, or if there's code that's on the site that's not efficiently written, all of those things can slow down the site. So you want to make sure that like images are compressed and minimize the code that so that you only have on there things that are absolutely necessary. The third thing is about responsiveness. And you've probably heard that term. It just means, is it mobile friendly? Does it respond to the device? So a large screen like a 4K screen, a desktop, a tablet, a mobile phone, different mobile phone sizes. And, it doesn't need to absolutely be perfect on every device, but on the common devices, this is really important. A desktop, like a laptop screen, and a mobile, and certainly whoever's designing your site needs to make sure that that's the case, because it's not always automatically the case that if you design it for your desktop that it's going to look good on mobile. Some of the things that we see that often get broken are around like navigations, your menu bars. On mobile, best practice is to kind of hide the navigation behind the 3 lines, so the hamburger menu, and make it clear that that's a universal symbol. People know to click there. On mobile, you may have competing elements that are fine on desktop but don't work well on mobile. Like, for example, you may have a CTA on your screen, but then on top of it, you have some kind of chat widget or something that may interfere with that CTA. Those are considerations you need to make and prioritize what is more important. And, sometimes less is more, so that it's not confusing to the visitor. And then you also just don't want too much flash. I mean, everybody's been on those sites where on mobile especially, it's overwhelming. Things are auto playing and there's pop-ups everywhere. You really gotta, pull it back a little bit, so it's simpler and it's kind of not invasive to the user. The next thing is about insecure websites, and it seems like kind of a no-brainer, but this falls off the radar sometimes. The bottom line here is you need to make sure that you have a secure sockets layer SSL certificate valid on your site on for all times. And that what that is simply is it's kind of a layer of protection between your website and the end user so that any data that's transmitted is secure and it's not vulnerable to interception, essentially. So you could think about, people on your site are leaving their name, their address, maybe they're paying. It's imperative that you have a valid SSL. And if you don't, then a lot of browsers will show, a kind of a pop-up like this, which is extremely off-putting, and generally will mean that somebody doesn't advance to your site. And what you can know if you have a valid SSL because in your URL it will say HTTPS. So this is a very simple but sometimes overlooked mistake. And then the last thing, and this is a bit of a catch-all, like you never want design choices on your website to get in the way of functionality and usability, right? Sites need to be clearly understood, clearly navigate the user to what they need to do. It needs to look clean and professional and maybe even beautiful, depending on your business. But none of those extras should get in the way of what you're trying to achieve. Now, there are some specific things here, like using too many stock images is a bit of a no-no. It doesn't mean you can't use stock. Most websites do, and they can be used tactfully. It's just, it should be like a coherent set of images. Be very careful when you're using stock images with people because they can look very plasticky and erode trust from your brand, right? So just be thoughtful about what is the feeling of the images that you're using. The other thing is about too many typefaces or fonts. Sometimes people do this unintentionally. It actually slows down the loading speed of your site. And also, it just doesn't look professional to have so many font points, so many sizes. Try to keep it as minimal as you absolutely need. I mentioned already showing too many pop-ups. I mean, we can look at this kind of site. Thankfully, there aren't so many of these sites anymore, but we all have seen them. And often sites do have these kinds of elements where there's just too much going on. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have like a lead form that pops up or subscribe to my newsletter and get 10% off or something like that. You absolutely can, but just be thoughtful about where you introduce those elements. So maybe somebody who has been on the site for 20, 30 seconds sees that pop up, or they've scrolled more than half the way on the site. Those are appropriate moments to introduce something like that. Or on exit. So, there are those pop-ups that can be introduced when you're hovering over to leave the browser, and that triggers kind of a pop-up that says, hey, wait, before you go, join our newsletter and get these ongoing tips or something like that, so that you, again, the purpose of the website, one of the primary drivers is to develop a pipeline of leads, people that are visiting your site that you can nurture to educate them and ultimately, hopefully, convert them into being customers of yours. And then I think the big bottom line here is you don't want to sacrifice the functionality just for the sake of looking cool. And I think that's a kind of a summary of a lot of things that I was saying before. You don't want your functionality or ease of use navigation compromised. So I hope those points are clear, and through the mistakes you can kind of see like what are some good elements in terms of what should be introduced in a website, kind of the do's and don'ts. There is no one size fits all. Your website and what your website looks like depends on your audience and your business type, but obviously, we try to follow some best practices around user experience and communicating kind of best of brand. And so to summarize some of those things, we can talk about some clear elements. What do you see on good websites? Time and time again, good copywriting, clear message and purpose. It's super clear what this business is about, and everything on the website in the way of content is not fluff. It is deliberately answering questions that the customer is likely to have, providing information, providing credibility, providing social proof. Those are all value adds. It's not just words on the page, but it's actually anticipating questions and objections from customers. Great design that looks professional and loads fast, as I was saying before. Marketing features that help you connect with customers. So these can be lead forms, these can be chat widgets, those things that really kind of bridge the visitors to ultimately engagement and patroning your business. And then the strong technical foundation. So that's everything from the loading speed, the security of your site, also to SEO, where there are technical elements as well. Now, we've talked about the website, but let's go a bit further, because as we said, the website is your foundation, but it's not the entire story. You have to get your website discovered, right? You have to get your business discovered. So where do we start outside the website? If you're a local business, on par with your website, without question, is the Google Business Profile. This used to be branded Google My Business, and previously, pretty much any small business, with the exception of some categories, were allowed to create profiles. Now, in the last 12 months or so, they've really narrowed it to businesses that serve in person, and so do have that local business element to them. The Google Business Profile is critical for a few reasons. First of all, it's like the brain, like the CMS of Google. So this is how Google learns about your business, and it feeds directly Google Maps. So those red pins on Google Maps are being fed by Google Business Profile. So you want to make sure that you create your Google Business Profile and provide comprehensive information. At UNI, actually, we sync the website content with Google Business so that that Google Business Profile is automatically created and populated with name, address, phone number, opening hours, attributes, service menu, product list, prices, and on, posts, because now they have kind of like, you could put a banner and some kind of advertising promo, and of course, reviews, which we'll talk about in a second. But the Google Business Profile needs to be set up through business.google.com. It is free to do. The tricky bit a little bit now, because of some of the new processes that they've established, is getting your GBP verified. And there are a series of steps. You essentially need to authenticate and prove to Google that, yes, this is my business and I have the authority to create this profile, because at the end of the day, this is the information that will appear when anybody Googles your business name. It's the panel on the right-hand side of the screen on your desktop that comes up that says, you've seen, I'm sure, thousands of these profiles, and it's really powerful because, immediately you have images about the business and you have all that key information and you have contact information to the business. And this is one of the primary ways how local businesses drive traffic to their business, truly, because the conversion process for any buyer is that anyone's going to be, maybe they heard about you through word of mouth, but they're going to check you online. They're going to Google your business name. They're going to check your Google Business Profile. What content is there? What kind of images do you have there? Does your place look nice? Is this the kind of business I want to consult? And of course, reviews, which we'll talk about in a sec. But Google Business Profile, I cannot overstate how important it is, because it is a repository of information for Google. And in fact, really, the more complete it is, the better it helps with your search results and presentation on Google. Now, closely related to that is reviews, because Google reviews are some of the most widely consulted. And I don't think I need to tell you all with what review, how powerful reviews are. About 80% of people report, according to some very large surveys, that they trust online reviews as much as they do personal recommendations, and that usually, on average, people read at least 10 reviews before deciding to go with a particular provider. So what does it tell you? It says that you have incredible power and influence over your prospective customers simply by putting out there and kind of visualizing the sentiments of your happy customers. So this is in your hands. And I say it's in your hands because really it's about a behavior, and it's one of those habits that we try to introduce with our customers kind of from day one. So the best practice is if you've just met with a customer, on site or remotely, whatever, as soon as they've had that experience, especially if you know that it's a good experience and you meet with them in person, you want to send them the link, the direct link to your review profile. And Google reviews are outstanding because they're universal. They're so visible on Google that I always advocate focus on Google reviews first, unless you have some huge following on social media or some other platform that makes your case unique, in which case, fair enough. But if you're starting out or you don't really have online reputation built out yet, focus on Google reviews. And as soon as somebody, you've done a job at somebody's house, or they've been to your salon, or you've served them, some kind of consulting session, whatever, say, would you mind taking 30 seconds just now and leaving a review about your experience? I'd appreciate it if you could do it right now, because everybody gets busy and forgets about it. And then, like through you and I, through our customers' business hub, they're able to email or SMS a link to their unique Google profile, review profile immediately on the spot. And that's very handy, because being able to get that review immediately means that, pretty much if you're doing a good job and you're serving your customers well, you can rack up 5-star reviews very quickly. And so this is a very powerful thing, but it's actually a very easy and accessible way for you to drive quality of your online presence. And we all know from our personal experience, as close as you can be, a vendor could be to 5 stars, and then as many of those reviews as you can have. So a high number of reviews. How many is enough? I don't know. We can all be judges of that. If you saw 4.8 stars and 50 reviews, would you feel confident? Probably, right? So let's try to aim for that. And it's a great place to start, and a really powerful way to send a signal to Google and to visitors and to people considering you versus others that, yes, this is a trustworthy business. The third piece here is around business directories and listings. What are we talking about here? So it can be Bing, it could be Facebook, Yelp, so many of the platforms that are mentioned here. There are a couple things here. One is about driving traffic to your business. So you put your website link, you create a profile on these different platforms, and that helps drive visitors from those platforms to your website and your business. That's great. Also, don't forget a very common experience for end customers. They'll Google your business name, and what will they find? What you want them to find on page 1 is, URL after URL, result after result of things that you're proud of and in control of. And if you're being listed on these very kind of trustworthy, high quality platforms, it's going to show that you are a professional business. Even better if you're able to get reviews on certain sites and so on. But it's really about showing that authority and that professionalism. And don't forget something you've probably heard about, backlinks. Listing your website on these profiles is also good for your own domain authority, and Google recognizes that and recognizes the authority that you get from being listed on these other platforms, and also you benefit that in your search ranking. So it helps in your search ranking as well. Another good reason to do it. It's usually free to list on these platforms, and it does take a bit of work. So having someone or a system to help you is always great, but you can do it yourself. Just remember the passwords and the logins so you can update it over time. That is one very important thing, just as an aside for SEO and for ranking. You really want to make sure that the fundamental information, the NAP, name, address, phone number, on any listing you have, any site where you're present, is always consistent. Google really penalizes you if there are discrepancies, even if it seems minor, even if it's just syntax and the way you wrote something, limited versus LTD, make sure it's identical. This is one of those pro tips on Google search. Social media. Social media, everybody knows they have to do it. Some people love it and they're just like naturals. Others kind of dread it, and it can be a lot of work and a bit of a slog. Um, that's why we always start with things like Google Business Profile, reviews, and directories. But social media can really work for you, and it's about being creative here. I'll give you an example of one of our customers who didn't have much of a social media following, but she liked taking pictures. She photographed her Pilates studio. She used hashtags, but what ultimately she did, she partnered with another local business, a massage kind of spa massage place that was nearby. They did have a bit of a social media following, and what they ended up doing was cross promoting one another's businesses. They're adjacent businesses, right? Not competitive, but complementary. So you could see a lot of crossover in potential customers. They did joint offers and so built up a bit of a following. Then they engaged a local influencer by offering this person who's kind of a beauty and wellness influencer, kind of micro influencer in the community, and offered her some services to try for free. Come in for some Pilates sessions, come in for a massage, and then she put it out there kind of on her experience. That triggered some local news coverage, and so that's kind of the kind of knock-on effects in the ecosystem that you can create without saying like, oh my goodness, I need to do all these posts and become this viral sensation. It's really about, are you putting content out there for an audience that is relevant? Because that audience, it may not have been massive, but it actually was very relevant. And so then, they would put in the studio and in the spa, like, incentives to join the social media. And on that social media, they talked a lot about promotions and reasons to come in and book a class or book a massage and so on. And that bred kind of repeat business, repeat awareness. And it was a way for those businesses to communicate with customers where they are. Because that's really the thing about social media, right? Your customers are there. They like to be there. They want to engage with you there. That's why you have to be there. So you have to meet them where they are. And then last, my absolute favorite, email and SMS, because these are tremendous channels with the best ROI ever. SMS, maybe it feels a little bit old school and you have to be careful with it. You can't be spammy, but it is a great way to let people know about maybe a seasonal offer or some event. And so with your distribution list, this kind of using it selectively with them, SMS has over 90% open rate, and it's usually just within a couple minutes of being sent. So it's very powerful in that way. Email similarly, you spend pennies to deliver messages, and it's a very powerful way to remain connected with your customers on an ongoing basis, to re-engage those that maybe haven't kept up with your business or need a reminder. Again, you may want to send them an offer or just news about things going on in the business that might be interesting to them. So outside of the website, there are all of these elements, and obviously somebody has to do the work. Even if we simplify it and we say like, we're going to kind of take baby steps in all of these dimensions, it's a lot. And I totally appreciate that it's a lot. And I'm always frustrated when, people get on these webinars and they say like, you have to do all these things. How are you going to do it? I come back to a point that I was raising at the beginning here, which is about making sure that whatever you do in setting up your website and all the other elements of your online presence, you get a strong return on investment, not only for the dollars out the door, but for the hours out the door and for that stress, hassle factor, the mental energy and emotional energy that you put into it. Make sure that whatever you're doing is delivering some value that you can measure on a 3, 6, 12-month time horizon. And it has to be clear. Now, I come back to the do-it-yourself website builder because, among the small businesses that come to us, time and again, this is the most frequently consulted solution. We also do get a lot of people that have another professional build their site on WordPress or something like that. But I just want to talk about, what are the specific costs that go into a DIY builder? In line with the kind of myths that I was trying to debunk a little bit earlier in the session. Let's break it down. So again, DIY solutions often pitched as super easy, super fast, super cheap, right? But when you itemize it line by line, here we go. Initial setup cost. With all the things that I was talking about that go into a website, do we think that it will take more or less than 20 hours? Is 20 hours a fair estimate? I think it is, okay? And let's assume for argument's sake, your time is worth $30 an hour. Maybe it's a lot more, okay? Then you could do your own calculation here, but say $30 an hour. That gets you to $600 of your time spent on that initial setup. Then you have all these other things that are pretty much necessary, no question, to run your website properly in terms of the email, the domain, getting real-time alerts, maintenance in terms of the tech, the security, any updates that are required on the platform. Your annual subscription cost on the platform. So this is really about getting e-commerce, booking, functionality, enable things that are just kind of standards, right? So you get into kind of the year one cost, which is going to be more because you have your initial setup, and you also have the ongoing. So somewhere between $1,200 to $1,800 a year. And here, unfortunately, we cannot say today, are you going to be happy with the website that you have? It's not guaranteed that you're going to be successful. Things that we talked about as being necessary to online success. So what about the maintenance ongoing? Who's going to help you edit and maintain the site? And then beyond that, the other things around building your online presence on other platforms, and then the marketing piece, that obviously is all on top. Now, I started UNI about 10 years ago for this very reason, okay? And this is not so much a sales pitch as it is just a statement of how we see things and why we do what we do. So the comparison is very stark, actually. When you think about, where a lot of that initial investment goes, it is about your time. And this is why we offer a done-for-you solution rather than a do-it-yourself platform, because we see so many people investing that time and then not even ending up with something that is a guaranteed launch and something that they can love. So in our case, there's a setup fee under $200, plus we estimate around 2 hours of your time to get things going, filling out a form, and then attending a launch and training call. A lot of the core functionality that I talked about is included in our packages, even the entry-level package. We do have a subscription, so you pay $12.99 a month, a little bit less if you take an annual plan. And we do have 2 other tiers. So all of which to say that, the total year one cost is under $400, comparing with a year one cost of $1,800. And the important thing here is this does not include the edits, ongoing editing of your site or marketing, but we do offer that at a very affordable cost. So what it means is you can start, take the first step, launch your website, and then with one provider with whom hopefully you trust after the website is built, you can grow with them. So you can say, I don't need to solve another problem by going to some other provider. I know that UNI will help me edit, maintain my site on an ongoing basis. And then, hey, if I want to be paired with a growth marketer and meet monthly and we do a program to grow my business online, they can do that too, and it costs much less than much less than what you would typically pay an agency. All of our prices and everything obviously are on our website, uni.com. But what I can say is for less than $100 a month, you could be paired with a marketer who's going to help you grow your business, which agency will charge 10 times that at a minimum. So ultimately, and we're one solution, right? But you need to choose a partner or a series of partners who provide solutions for your business, not just toolkits. And that's why we do what we do, recognizing that small business owners should have the right and should have the ability to afford access to an expert to build their website, help their business grow for an affordable cost, and to have access to people on an ongoing support, because there's nothing worse than launching something, but then not having support to help drive it forward. Just a little bit of background about, our process. It is quite simple. You'd fill out a questionnaire. Any small business is welcome. Fill out a questionnaire with their business info. And that really gets out, what are you trying to get from your website? What are the core bits about your business that need to go into your website? We ask you about your online presence, your goals, your design, a lot of things in order to really create a website you're going to love. We build the site, and in 7 days, we launch it with the business owner live on a one-to-one call. That call is really powerful because we present you with the site, but also you have an opportunity then to make any changes that you want. Our team will take care of that, and you actually have access to our team. We call them their concierge team, to make any changes you'd like for 30 days, so that ultimately, within that 30 days, you launch a site that you love. And if you don't love it, there's a money back guarantee, no problem. Very few people exercise that, but we do that on purpose because we want everybody to feel confident that they're not taking some huge risk, because that's not why we do what we do. We do it because we want to empower people, not make them feel like they're going to be hoodwinked some way. So you can rest assured that that's something that is just part and parcel of U&I's culture. And then the last thing is, once you're happy with your site, then you go live, and that's it. You start collecting leads and accepting appointments and selling products, wowing your customers and prospective customers. And there are no additional fees. So a lot of platforms charge, like for transactions. We don't. And then finally, what do our websites look like? This is the last bit of my presentation. Let me just share my screen for 1 second so I can show you a couple of sites quickly. I hope you see all of that. This is a clothing boutique, and you'll see we have category specialists at U&I who focus on building sites in particular sectors to ensure that we have expertise in the content, the design, the information, architecture, all these things around different business categories, and that's very important. They're all personalized to your kind of business. Let's look at another one. Sacramento Painting. Let's see. Just to give you a feel for some of them, you can go to uni.com, check out. We have a page dedicated to our work, our example pages. That'll give you loads of different ones you can click through in your own time. I'll just go through a couple here very quickly, just so you have a feeling for it. And then we will turn it over to Q&A, because I see that we are very short on time, and I'm sure there are a lot of things that we've talked about here that you'd like to discuss. So great. Hopefully that gives you a feeling, albeit quickly, around the different styles and kind of the depth of the sites that are built. They are real sites. They have full functionality. And yeah, I think you can agree that they look quite professional. Okay. Pedro, maybe I turn it over to you for fielding those questions here.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a breath, get a glass of water, and I'll respond to some questions. We've been giving answers on the chat, but
Great.
I'll answer some of the questions, publicly and on video, so that everybody sees and everybody gets the answer. And I'll ask you for your help in some of them as well. There was, I want to address I think the first question that appeared. We had a customer that was trying to get in touch with us, or get us to get in touch with them. And apparently, I don't know the details. We were here live, so I couldn't check, but I forward the case to our customer support. However, I want to stress for everybody that we have a phone line available from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, anybody that wants to get in touch with us, I would recommend, rather than sending an email saying, call me at phone number, that's not efficient. That's not really helpful for either side. Just call us. For sure, someone will be there to help you out. Or if you can't call us, jump on the live chat. All of our pages on all of our website has the live chat widget. So there's always someone during working hours to help you out.
Or if you're
Um,
if you're a customer, log in and there's another live chat there. So you have
Indeed.
access, you'll always have access to somebody. Yeah, people LinkedIn me too. Those messages also go to our success team. So, however you want to do it, it's cool. But honestly, service is our product. So I see it was Scott. Scott will sort you out. I'm sorry for any delay, but we'll get you there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Scott had to drop out. He left an email
Okay.
that is not connected to any client of ours, so it's going to
We'll find
be
you.
hard. But we'll try
We'll
to
try.
sort this out. That's what we're
Okay.
here for. Another question we have, maybe you take this one, Christine. How do you determine the effectiveness of a good website? So this was by Jerry Williams.
That's a really, really good question. I think that there are a few dimensions. First of all, are you proud of the website? Like when you open it, when your customers look at it, does it evoke your business in a way that you agree that this is how you want to be presenting your business? Is it additive? Or is it somehow cheapening the brand and you feel a little bit ashamed? It doesn't quite work. I think that's a really important part of it because, as I was suggesting before, when people are evaluating who to go to as a provider, no matter what you do, they're comparing, they're going online and they're consulting different things. And so how you present yourself on your website is a big part of that. And what they see there, does it, evoke the professionalism that you want to project? I honestly think this is one of the single most important things that it does. But beyond that, there are metrics that you can see. How am I, as I said before, on the ROI. So before you set up your website, how many leads, how many calls were you getting? How many bookings, how many sales? Now, fast forward 6 months later, are you getting more? Is it about the same? There should be some quantitative output there as well. But if you're doing many things at the same time, so you built the website and you're also creating social media, maybe some of those effects will blur a little bit. So you have to recognize that that's also possible, and it's a portfolio. But some of those quantitative metrics do matter. I think also, get feedback from your customers. I mean, are your customers using the site to book appointments with you or to purchase from you? Do they find it useful? Do they find it useful to use the chat that's on your site? Because don't forget, making your brand look professional is one thing. Actually getting more traffic, more leads, more bookings, more sales is another thing. And then the third thing is it helping you run your business more efficiently? So are you capturing leads and bookings that previously you wouldn't have because those are coming in maybe at late hours when no one's manning the phone, right? Your website is like your PA 24/7. So there's that piece too. Is it actually doing it for you? So it's a long answer. There isn't one metric to look at exactly, but I think comparing the hard numbers in your business before and after is one thing, and then the professionalism piece is a really big one.
And let me just add,
Please.
it really depends on what you, the individual or the business, want
Totally.
to achieve, and that's why on our intake form, when you get a website with us, that's one of the questions: what do you wish to achieve? Because for Jerry, it may be one thing, and for Lizzie, a completely different thing. And looks of the website might not be it. The speed of the website might not be it. Even how many customers they get. We've seen plenty of cases where businesses want to improve the customer. They're attracting, or they want to, you know, offer different services, or there is no one size fits all answer to what a good website is, and that's why UNI stands apart is in that service and coaching and counseling of what really do you need, because we see a lot of people, a lot of business owners don't necessarily understand what they really need to be successful online or to have a successful website. They think it needs to be good, it needs to be fast, and then from there there's a lot of difficulty in understanding really what they need to do. So we work with them
Totally.
to figure that out and go towards the right path, whatever that is.
Can I just follow on? There was a question from Angelique that I think is relevant. Are UNI sites able to track performance? And yes, absolutely. Whatever kind of metric you kind of need. So all the leads that come in are stored in your business hub. All the bookings, all the sales are there, and also traffic and keywords that you're ranking for. What is the source of your traffic? So, if you wanted to put like a Google Analytics pixel tracking pixel on the site, we can do it. No problem if you're used to using that interface. We have a simplified interface that uses GA data in order to just make the interface simpler, and you don't have to navigate. Google Analytics can be very complicated. So, yep, the short answer to your question is absolutely.
Okay, so that one's answered. And let me go back to earlier ones. So Lizzie asked us if, as an added benefit, our clients could get a customized flyer template. So Lizzie, maybe I'll take that if that's okay,
Please, yeah,
Christine.
go
'Cause
on.
I was thinking about this. The flyer template design, so design as the service in general, is not something that is named as part of our website building service or marketing service. We do some design for our clients, all the imagery, all the logos, all the the design of the websites that you see and that Christine showed you. Most of those elements, almost all of those elements, are designed by us. So we do, to a certain extent, this design service. Flyer template is not usually part of what we do. I'm not saying we wouldn't or we can't. However, I think a fairer response to this would be we're always looking for additional benefits, and we are just these days adding a more robust booking functionality exactly based on these types of questions. Could we also have these benefits? And so what I'll do is I'll forward this to our product team to get these into queue, to get these into our internal development prioritization, and we then assess if more customers have these need and prioritize based on that. So all in all, my answer is thank you for your suggestion. It is not necessarily something that is part of our plan, and or that you have a tool or an area on our dashboard.
Can I just offer one asterisk to that, which
Yep.
is Pedro's exactly right, and we never want to, you want to under promise and over deliver, and that's generally what we do. In our growth plan, which is one of our plans, the marketers there will help with a lot of design. I mean, that's just actually part of some of the things that they do for assistance. So. And a growth plan is very kind of bespoke to what your business needs, so you could get some assistance there. But that's just because we like to go above and beyond, but it's not as Pedro said, it's not a feature of our plans.
Yeah. Like everything, and like Christine said, it's not that I'm trying to under promise, but also, the question is very vague. So Lizzie, I really want you to have an honest answer.
For
that
sure. It's
it's
totally
not
right.
really, and that's why in our pricing page it isn't. We will always try to help. Email us, talk to our
Yeah.
account managers. We will always either do it or tell you, here's a few options of how you could do it.
For sure.
But that is really my answer. So after Lizzie, we had Angelique, this question I wanted to address, and it's related to something you just read earlier as well. Do we do retargeting? And
Mm.
so my answer to that is retargeting is very broad. As Christine said earlier, you can put your pixels, your Google Analytics, or any other third-party tool really that you can embed on the website. You can do that to, track visitors, and then use that as the source of your remarketing those users around the web. Then, through our growth program, our growth plan, sorry, our advisors do help you manage that and launch it, and uh, tailor those campaigns to whatever needs you have. As I mentioned on the chat, and I want to be clear, we do not act as an agency on your behalf. We do not launch the campaigns. We do not, own your Facebook advertising or something like that. That is not part of what we do at this moment. Not saying we cannot add it in the future, but for the time being, we provide the coaching and the supervision, if you will. So we will help you do that, but it's not through you and I that we will be running ads on your behalf or something like that. So I wanted that to be
For
clear.
sure.
Another question, and I believe it's from Angelique as well. Are we able to control the Google reviews? Do you want to answer that?
Sure. I think nobody can do that really in terms of managing the content of those reviews. I think Google and the other platforms are very savvy to false reviews. It's not something we get into. Certainly, there are situations where people will post false or malicious reviews, so it's bad content and it's inappropriate and it shouldn't be there. And we have helped clients contact Google support to get those removed. So if that situation occurs, certainly we try to help you, be an advocate for you on that. But look, there's every good business can easily control how they look online and their reputation online by asking your happiest customers. If you're not sure about how a customer is going to react, then maybe don't ask them, right? Or hold back until you feel a little bit more confident. But if you know that a customer really just had a wow experience, go ahead. Like that's the customer that you want to be providing a testimonial. So that would be my advice.
I understood the question from a different perspective.
Ah,
Maybe Angelique. No, I don't know which one of us is
okay, go
correct.
on.
And rather than asking Angelique to clarify in the chat, I'll give a quick answer.
Yeah.
If the question is can we manage the Google reviews? Yes, we can, both from the Google dashboard as well as from the UNI
Sorry. Yeah.
dashboard from within the hub, what we call the hub. There is the possibility to respond to reviews, delete reviews, or report in this case. And that's it,
Request
really.
reviews. Yeah.
Request reviews as well. Invite your clients, your contacts to leave a review. So in that sense of controlling the Google reviews flow, you can do it through the UNI product. We need to go a little bit faster here, so I will
Gotcha. Just
just
one thing on our UNI sites, the Google reviews can display on the sites as well, which is great. Just because if you've done some work and got a great score, you can show that immediately on your website, which is just really good reinforcement of the content.
Yeah. Deborah Hayes was asking, how much does it cost to maintain the website as far as marketing? Again, the question isn't super clear on what it means. Our plans are available on uni.com/pricing. That's the easiest way for you to clarify that question, Deborah. But our plans start at $12.99 a month and go, depending on the level of service you require, up to $99 a month. So that's a broad.
And the plan where there's the marketing advisory, that's growth. That's $99 a month. You save a bunch if you go annually. You save about 25%.
Jim Petty asking if UNI offers KPI reporting. We have analytics within the hub. Like Christine said earlier, you can export all your data, export your leads, connect them to other marketing services as well as CRM.
Over different time periods, so traffic, sales, leads, bookings, that kind of thing.
Really depends here what Jim means by KPI reporting. But in general, I would say yes is the short answer. Then it really depends on what you mean. And connected to this, Armando was asking if we can integrate a CRM to the website you design. We can integrate third-party tools. It really depends on what CRM, what usage, how, if it's in the back end or the front end, meaning customer facing, or you want the data just in your back end. Really depends, Armando. But in general, I would say yes, we could. We should be able to help you. What else do we have that we haven't addressed? I'll give this one to you, Christine. So Mark asking, I've been running an Etsy store for about 6 years, and I know I need to diversify my sales channels. How difficult is it for you and I to create a website and mirror my Etsy shop items and add copy descriptions? Interesting.
We get a lot of this. It's a really great use case and something I would really encourage. I would never say like don't use Etsy. Of course you should use Etsy. Like it's going to be driving traffic to your business and discovery of new customers. But when you have customers and repeat business, why should you pay Etsy fees? I mean, it's just they're great for new discovery, and then for repeat business and loyal customers, they should buy from you directly. Also, platforms change and you can't control who you appear alongside, where you appear on the page. People get distracted, they jump to other providers, right? Even existing customers of yours. So getting a website's a great idea. We definitely can, take your products, your images, your description. And that's one of the things on the intake questionnaire we ask, what is it that you like about your existing online presence or profile? And then what would you like to change? So maybe you think some of the descriptions are weak, or there are keywords you want to enhance, that kind of thing. Certainly those are the notes you can make, and we can modify and enhance elements as well. Hope that answers your question.
And it's a very common use case, a very common question. We have, I think it's possibly the last one.
Yes, we're a few minutes over, so thanks everybody for hanging with us.
Indeed, yes. Alex, you can, like we said, you can add custom code, you can add third-party tools. So an iframe is very easily Lizzie, yes, you will get a recording. Oh, you're asking to post the answer. I would propose that you go back to the recording. You'll get it on email right after. I don't think we will have time to go over the question again, Lizzie, but you'll see we answered it in detail on the recording that you will get through email in a few hours. I don't know if it's immediately after this. There was one other question. No problem, Lizzie. There was one other question I wanted to address, but I'm missing it here now. This one probably was missed earlier, but if I understand this question, to get in touch with us over the phone and get a free call, I understand, speak with us and get a sort of free consultation as well over the phone. You can speak with our advisors. The number is on the website. Go to uni.com. Any of our pages, you'll see both the live chat and the phone number, which was also posted here.
Yes.
My colleague Florian just posted the phone number, and so feel free to get in touch. I believe that is it.
There's one last thing that I'll just say, which is, and just going back to this for a quick second, that ueni.com, ueni.com is a place to go. Phone numbers there, live chats there, our advisors 10 to 7 every day Eastern are there. Ask them questions. If there's any confusion, there's something we raised here and you still aren't clear, you can email me. Oh, I put Gmail. Goodness me. That's youandI.com. Sorry, guys. It was the last slide. c.tellian@ueni.com. And you can reach me as well. I love hearing from customers and prospective customers. So I really encourage you to write to me. And thank you so much for sticking with us. I hope it was useful to you. Good luck in your business.
Thank you, everyone.